Did you get an official one? Isn't it like £70 as well? Okay. Cool. Which brand is it? Anchor? Yeah. Yeah. As much fun as the £70 ones are. What are you using SD cards for? Right, I'm bringing you up.
We're here. Welcome to day 2 of week 1 of the BBO show.
It looks like we haven't moved.
Exactly. I've taken
I have
my jumper.
changed. This is a different jumper.
Mine would be the same one. It's only day 2. Whoever's changed their jumper every day is a bit weird, but that's the same one. But it's getting hotter. The temperature's getting hotter at the moment. I think today hits 23 degrees.
Be nice to go out.
Yeah, nice to go out. We're going to do our daily walk in a bit before they ban exercise here.
You know they closed my local park, Brockwell Park.
Ah, they've done ours as well. They've closed that.
Yeah.
So we're Tuesday. So welcome back, everyone, to the BBO show, or BBO.SHOW, which the domain will be very soon. Remember, if you enjoyed the first episode, all you need to do is go into the description at some point. I don't know when, but go into the description and there'll be a Slack link there. What Slack is a private communication channel which doesn't have the distractions of Facebook. I feel like I'm advertising them. I'm not. I'm advertising our private group where you can actually speak to me and Kyle and hang out with the other people who are focused on online business, digital marketing, and things like that, and everything in between. So let me just make sure my camera's set. There we go. So if you joined us yesterday, we are focusing on, this week, we're focusing on events, specifically independent people such as yoga teachers who would have to physically meet their students or their cohort as such, personal trainers, classes, that's the right word, personal trainers. And I'm trying to think of anybody else who would be like that. I guess consultants in the health field as such, osteopaths, physios, who operate on a one-to-one basis. For them, it's slightly more trickier, but for the relief side of things, certainly this will work.
I think any classes, physical health is the easiest one to think of because we tend to go to a lot of health classes, but it could be foreign languages if you're learning Japanese, for example, and you can no longer go to your classroom. Yeah. So any kind of class, any kind of event.
That makes sense. So if you remember yesterday, we said the very simple shift. So we focus on a model which is called a system, a model which is called Baton. And we'll reveal that throughout the week. But the first thing we focused on, which was yesterday, which was the business part of things. And you can think about the business model in 2 ways. When faced with the current situation, which is the coronavirus, COVID-19, lockdown, having to shift our business. We spoke to somebody, a gentleman, amazing person who's been in business for 27 years, and asked him the question, what was different between 2008 recession versus now? And what he said is 2008, you sort of realize that people were tightening down their spending. There was rumors or whispers. We almost knew for a couple of years or a year before, you could see patterns in the financial market which were not right. As a business owner, you would have found lending was getting more difficult. Whereas this is, you just run into a hard brick wall without any preparation whatsoever. So that was his response after 27 years in business.
Yeah, 2007, 2008, that was easy mode. Yeah. Now
we're like, bang, that's what we all face. It's like, what do we do? So hopefully this is going to make it easier on what can we do. And you can pull apart what we're doing and take the bits that you like. So yesterday we spoke about 2 different ways we can implement this within this niche that we're talking about. One is just go online. We spoke about the really simple thing, Carl, where just go online, just shift online. But that requires a whole bunch of things: advertising, the transition time, etc. But we said, what if we took a different approach, where we were the host of the party, where we were adding value to a community, but in the sense of getting directly to them, and just expand on very quickly where we are today, Carl, and what was that yesterday? What was that technique we spoke about?
Sure. So as many of you probably already encountered, there's a lot of, especially in WhatsApp groups, but also on Facebook, Reddit, other online communities, there are a lot of lists being compiled. So these are ultimate resource lists. So the other day, last week, Harms and I actually put together a list like this about how to work from home. Because we've been doing it for years, and we know that there are certain tools that are useful, there are certain apps, there are certain pieces of software you should be using if you're working from home. So for us to put together a list, a resource list for people, was very easy, very quick. And we were talking about, competitors, products, we're talking about things that are unrelated to us, we're just talking about creating something of value that we can put out into the world. We did it for work from home. But you, in your niche, whether it's yoga, whether it's physiotherapy, whether it's CrossFit, whatever your particular niche is, whatever you provide classes in, you've probably noticed that within your milieu, within your the WhatsApp groups you're part of, any other groups, that there are these kind of resource lists being thrown around and sent around. And
within your milieu, what?
Your group of people.
Is that a fancy term? Or is that no, not
French.
French? Wow. Okay, there we go.
Within your environ.
Well, if you follow us for a long time, you're going to find that Carl is very intelligent with things like this.
Your yoga mates have sent you.
I would say your mates on WhatsApp or your WhatsApp group. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, fine.
Or your milieu. I've learned something today.
Mileau. Anyway, yeah, you've probably already received some of these lists, and they're really useful. They are just giving you a list of either free classes or low-cost classes that you might do in yoga or CrossFit or whatever it is. I received one a few days ago, which is about ballet and yoga, ballet and opera, stuff like that. So it could be anything. It doesn't matter what your niche is. What we're suggesting is that you, as an expert in your business niche, put together your own list and start to distribute it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, and why we want to do that.
Okay, so that answers the question, what are we marketing? So what we're marketing is essentially an ultimate resource list. We spoke about that in the previous session, so do watch that. But ultimately what we're doing is what Carla said, an ultimate resource list. So I think the next question, Carl, is how do we create that? Because I made the error, if we create this list, but what we didn't do was brand ourselves, i.e., this is our list, guys, but we're more than happy to share it for free. What I did is just give the list away. There was no inkling that this has come from us, our company, our brand. My other podcast featured on it, but nothing that we do together featured on it. So it was like, okay. So we put this value list out. And I think it's okay to do that, but we're talking about business here. We're talking about revenue. We're talking about survival. We're talking about guerrilla marketing. So we have to include ourselves on that list. So don't make the mistake I did. So the question then is, how do we create it? That's the next thing we can open up on.
How do we create it? And then we're going to put ourselves in it as well. We did our list for a slightly different reason, but yes, if we are doing it purely for marketing, we would put ourselves in it amongst the other people. So how do we create it? So the first big question here comes back to your audience and who it is you're trying to get to. How wide do we want this list to be? So if I'm running a yoga studio in Southwest London, for example, do I want this to be a useful resource for just people who do yoga in Southwest London? Or do I want it to be for everybody in London? Or do I want it to be national? Or do I want it to be the whole of Europe? Or do I want it to be global? There's no right or wrong answer here. The more people you help, so if you go global, more likely that there's a higher likelihood you're going to be able to turn that into a revenue stream later. That said, if you're mainly focusing on being able to bounce back from Corona once the lockdown ends, and you want to provide a huge amount of value specifically to your local area, then maybe you want to keep it closer.
I guess there's pros and cons for both. I mean, global will have potentially, arguably, a greater viral reach. It will reach more people because the list is the ultimate global resource list. But locally, it will probably benefit you more for your physical business.
It depends on your business. Like the other day, I received a list which was, I forget who it was from. I think it was from a local coffee shop who's really big in the community, and they had put together a list of all of the local businesses who were still serving customers. They were still doing deliveries. So this included fitness, but it also included food delivery, it included coffee and stuff like that. So they'd done a hyper local one. That made it easier for them to spread it in the local area. If they tried to spread that list in India, no, I mean, it's irrelevant there. It doesn't make any sense there. So obviously it has no global ramifications. So it depends who you want to be spreading this list for and who it's for. I think this is going to become clearer as we work through today as well. But we do need to keep this in mind early on. It's like, who do we want to be reading this? Is it local? Is it regional? Is it national? Or is it global?
Yeah, absolutely. And then what else do we need to consider when creating this list?
We need to decide what it is we're collecting, what
Okay.
we want the final form of this list to be. If you've already received any of these resource lists, go and have a look at them, and you'll know exactly what we're kind of talking about here. Maybe we can post one in Slack group too. I have a few that I've been sent. But generally, what you're going to see is a chart. So if it's a Google Sheet or an Excel document, you're going to have the name, so the name of the company. You'll have their website or their social media platform if they're providing their service through social media. You'll have what the offer is, so 10 yoga classes for £30 or whatever it is. You'll have a column that has the price and whether it's free or if it's paid. Then you might have one, again, depending on what the resource list is, about the schedule. So for the one I received the other day with cultural events, so it's theatre, opera, and ballet, etc. Obviously, the schedule there is important because the show is on Thursday at 7 p.m. So you need to have that in the list.
Yeah.
And then one additional thing you might want to add into your resource list, and this is how we start to brand it, is have an additional column which is your thoughts. So as the curator of this list, what do you think about this? So maybe it's a few notes, maybe it's given some extra details, maybe it's your kind of review of whatever the service is. It's up to you how in depth you want to get on this particular column. But that's a way of adding some personality and adding yourself into the resource list, one way.
Yeah. So I tell you what, I've got a link, Carl, which is actually cleaned up, just so we've got a raw document.
Shall I put it up?
Yeah, let me send you the URL in the host chat. So where's my Be Live gone? Okay, so let me send you something in the host chat.
Yep.
And hopefully that works as a URL. So send. If not, you can copy and paste it. So that's an example you can maybe bring up. So we haven't done a tabulated format because, like you said, the purpose of this was a bit different. But
I can't copy or paste it or link it, so that's handy.
Where else can I send it to you? What have you got open?
WhatsApp.
Okay, WhatsApp. So there
It's
we
useful,
go.
isn't it?
Yeah. So this is an idea. It's not the final product, but this because our purpose was different, but we thought it would be helpful, especially when Kyle was talking about your personal thoughts. You know, that final column, your brand, your personal thoughts, your personality, which comes through. And Kyle has done that with these resources, but at the top. So this is a work from home resource list. WFH, which is trending at the moment. So minimize me, but you can maybe, and I'll just stay in the audio.
Oh. It's not allowing me to put you in audio. Our tool has been playing up today, so what I'm gonna do is drop myself. I'm audio only. I don't know why I can't do it with you, but that'll be fine.
Nice. There we go. Right, we flicked around there. So if you've got that open, so what we can see, and Carl, you can drive it. Feel free to speak. I'll just commentate on this. Yep. I'll watch this one.
So you can still hear me. So this is slightly different. I would ideally have this in a Google Doc format. Sorry, a Google Sheet format. So it's like Excel. That would be a bit easier to see, to kind of to work through the list. But this is fine as well. So we have general resources, including a few long form guides. We have some podcasts we suggest, some books, and as you can see, each one just has a couple of suggestions. Online learning if you want to pick up new skills, home office, focus scheduling, And then this is the main bulk here. It's the tools, the software and the apps that we suggest you use if you're doing work from home. And then for each one, I've actually given my thoughts, because it's very easy just to go on Google and look up project management, for example. But I've given my experience and my thoughts based on having used many of these tools, most of these tools over the
Yeah, we
last
have. Yeah.
5 years, and we've changed them. We used to use Basecamp, this one
Yep.
here. Basecamp's great. It didn't do what we needed to do, so we moved over to Teamwork. I've put both here because we've used both of them. Trello is here we go. It's a strip down tool, for example, which is free, and that's something I recommend people should be used. And this list just kind of goes on in the same vein, giving a very specific suggestions. Like a decent headset is a Logitech H340. That's the one I'm actually using right now. So this isn't me, trying to promote a product that I don't use. This is just my genuine advice to people who want to work from.
So the cheat way, and probably the way we would not recommend doing this, is copying and pasting our list, or going onto another website, or where Carl will show you how he researches in a moment, I'm sure. But actually just copy and pasting it and just completely plagiarizing it. That's not what we're recommending here. What we're saying is spend some time to research this yourself and share your own personal experience for whatever this list is for you.
Well, yeah, because you should be an expert in your particular niche, and that's what people are looking for. Sure, let's say they're looking for online yoga classes. They can go on Google and type online yoga classes. That's not difficult. What they're looking for from somebody like you is your curation. They're looking for advice, because they'll find 100 different websites offering online yoga classes. They need somebody who knows what they're talking about to say, actually, ignore this, don't worry about this. These are the guys you need to be looking at.
Yeah, someone like you, someone who's, the same kind of mindset as you, the same kind of social circles, community, somebody you may even go to a yoga class with. That's the person you want to be positioning yourself here, almost like a community leader, which is a bit of an old phrase now, but somebody who's the host of the party, who's saying, I put this list together because I think it would be useful for everybody. And then actually have put that list together. So actually genuinely I put that list together. So I shared this with a couple of my friends. So Carl gave this as a first draft. I done the second draft and shared it with some of my friends, and they said it's a cracking list. But we know that we've actually put that list together. So if somebody asked me a question on, talk to me about that Logitech webcam. Well, actually I'm using it right now. So I can say, yeah, I love it because it's got 2 different high definition options. I'm on 720 HD at the moment. So if I can drop...
This is what I recommend you. Oh, okay, you know more about it than me.
So you recommended this to me, and now I use it like readily. It's 10 times better than my laptop webcam. So it's my opinion on it. But then it's saying, are you going to use it enough for it to make it worthwhile? Or is your industry or business, if you have a sharp, clean image, does that present you in a better way? And does that mean your message is stronger? And I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's how you want to feel like you're giving your opinion about every piece of item on this list. That will set your list apart, I guess.
I mean, again, if somebody wants advice on which webcam to buy, sure, they could just Google best webcams 2020, or just go on Amazon and see which one has the best reviews. Even then, though, it's hard to tell what to trust, because you don't know if the review sites are legit. They just want somebody to make it easy for them and say, look, this is good webcam, it's £80. If you want someone a bit cheaper, maybe check this one out. That's all people are looking for. They need somebody, an expert, to say, this is what's up.
Yeah, a word of mouth expert. So how did you then, Kyle, I know you didn't steal this list, because when I saw it, I was like, actually, yeah, I've used all of that stuff as well. How did you go ahead and actually curate this list?
Sure.
If that's what we want to explore now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because we want people to be pulling together their own lists. So the best way, as I just talked about, is to set up a Google Sheet.
How long will this take? Sorry, how long would you expect this to take for somebody?
Depends on where you know your niche. But it took me about an hour to make that document.
Okay, hour. So I think expect an hour to 2.5, 3, especially if this is the first time you're doing it.
Yep. So make a sheet with name, website, what the offer is, any price, any schedule, and then any notes you want to add to it. Nice and basic. That's all you need. And then the well, there's a few ways that you can find resources to put into your list. The first thing you can do is look at any lists that you've already been sent. Some people have already started to compile these lists. I'm not saying steal their list. I'm saying start with it and pick out the things that you actually genuinely think are useful within that list. A lot of these lists that have been sent out include everything. So that's not very helpful for somebody who is an amateur, somebody who doesn't know this niche as well as you. If they're given a list of 20 different options for a webcam, for example, or 20 different options for yoga lessons, that's too much. Whenever human beings are given that many choices, our brains just shut down. We do not make a decision. We need to have max 2 or 3, and that's it. So look at the lists that are already being sent around and pull out whatever's useful. Put them into your Google Sheet for now. That's one thing that we're going to be using for. So yeah, we're not stealing. We are curating. It's
We're
very different.
curating, and if you're confused between somebody who steals versus somebody who curates, there's a great book called "Steal Like an Artist." Go check that book out. That will give you a strong definition. If you're ever confused, am I stealing or not?
Yeah,
That's a great book to reference. Really quick, easy read as well.
because all of this information is out there. I mean, that's the problem with the internet nowadays. Is not that there is hidden information or that the information cannot be found. It's there's just too much. So what we're doing is curating it. We are making it easier to access the quality information and getting rid of all the crap.
And so I guess it's no different, I guess, Carl, to say somebody curating their own blog post and having this information on there as a blog post. It's very
Sure.
similar,
If
but
they made a list for a blog post.
exactly. But what we're saying is we're not going to, by all means, put this on your blog if you've got one. But what we're saying is we want to get this directly into the hands of people. So just remember that as a comparison. If you're thinking, can I use it as a blog post? Yeah, you can. Can I use it elsewhere? Can I use it on my social media? 100%. But make sure you've curated it and created it. But how we distribute it, that'll be the final point. So, okay, so what's the next step, Carl? I jumped in there.
Next one, the really useful resource here is Reddit, Reddit. You may use Reddit already, you may not use Reddit, doesn't really matter. All we're going to do is put in a search term in Google like free yoga resources Reddit. Or you can even put in things like yoga quarantine Reddit or yoga COVID Reddit or yoga corona Reddit. And that's going to come up with specific lists and resources that people have put together to combat the quarantine. I'm going to
and the key there is to include Reddit in the search term.
Correct.
That's the key there.
That's going to show us what Reddit has shown us. So, so I need to pull it onto here.
Yeah, you got something prepared. Fantastic.
Yeah, I did. So specifically here, oh no, what did I put in? I think I put in yoga resources Reddit. Let's just do that from Google. There we go. So I think this one popped up. I can also do it with, if I put in quarantine. I'm making these lists already, so here we go. Started yoga at the start of the quarantine. It's done wonders to keep me sane and continuing down a healthy path. So this person is asking, hey, what are some good sources for online? And then people have, here we go, got 59 people have given suggestions. So we have Yoga with Adrian, of course.
So what's Reddit? What's Reddit in case somebody doesn't know what that is or it's the first time they're seeing it?
Reddit is its own beast, but it's basically a messaging board where you can go on, ask questions or post a link, and then other people jump in and give answers or discuss whatever you've posted. The main difference with Reddit is that it has a very active community, and they do things like curate this list. I want to highlight this at the top. Basically, r/yoga, or the yoga part of Reddit, has been going for so long that over time people on the yoga messaging board have put together this kind of guide.
Amazing. Yeah.
So you can see here we have the essentials, what you should wear, yoga gear. So this is going to be lists suggesting what gear you should have for yoga.
So what is it
Information.
like? If I was to say, right, this is like a Wikipedia forum, or this is like a forum on steroids, or the modern kind of forum, because typically we was used to forums back in the day where this would
Yeah,
happen, but I think Reddit is just a steroid forum on steroids.
yeah. It's one of the world's or the internet's largest forums. Basically, it's not quite a forum. I know people who are on Redditors. They're called. They will be yelling at me for whatever I'm saying here, but it's a forum.
Or me, because I'm really comparing it to something else. But yeah.
Yeah. So here we go. For example, if you want to give a suggestion on a yoga mat, these are all of the discussions people have had on Reddit about mats, and these are going to be very in depth. So there's a mega thread here, which I imagine is going into a huge amount of depth about what is the best mat. You can jump in here and find suggestions. Again, you need to curate it, so you need to base it on what you know about the subject. You should not just be copying stuff from Reddit. But this is a great place to start and get inspiration for what you should be talking about.
Mm.
And as you can see, Reddit has it has a lot of different sub niches, so you will be able to find whatever your niche is. So Pilates is here, meditation, if you're a meditation teacher, is another one, and you will be able to find a community around your interest inside Reddit. So this is a great place to find resources. So again, we are just putting in something like Reddit yoga list, or Reddit yoga free list.
Okay.
Go start here looking for a list, and then we just go through until we find useful resources that we want to borrow from.
Yeah, and I think a nice way to start as well is think about the categories that you may want to find resources in. That might be able to speed up the process as well. So, for example, in our list we had online, we said, what is work from home? What are all the things we have to consider? Everything from hardware, office setup, streaming, online learning, podcasts, YouTube people. All of those things are different categories. Then we can very quickly find resources within that. I like Reddit as well because it's an actual human being giving their opinion, whereas a blog post is a human being giving their opinion via an incentive. It's a bit of a slight difference. One is, it's top 10 reviews. We don't know if they've been incentivized behind the scenes. Again, it's up to them. That's their business model. If you click through the link, do they get an affiliate payment? Again, totally fine. But it's why have they put that on there? Have they genuinely tested it? And there's some great people on YouTube who genuinely test all the products.
On Reddit.
On Reddit. Sorry,
YouTube.
Reddit.
We'll have YouTube in a minute, but so on that point, if I type into Google top 10 yoga mats, I can do it.
Let's see what it comes up with.
I'll just do it on mine.
It's normally it's probably the extreme version of what we want, which is a hyper curated list.
So it's very well fit, Jan 2020. So basically each of these, I just checked. If you click any of these, I know you can't see them, but it's just pictures of yoga mats. If you click any of the links here, it will go to Amazon. And then when you purchase that yoga mat, the website will make a small amount of money for each of those sales. So they are... Okay, one, everything there is only available at Amazon. So whether or not the best yoga mat or not can be bought on Amazon is irrelevant because they're trying to send you to Amazon to make money. And two, obviously, they are incentivized to suggest certain items on Amazon. They're getting paid a percentage. So if they recommend a higher cost item, they're going to make a bit more.
Yeah.
If they...
And that's called affiliate marketing, and that's okay if that's your business model, and that's totally fine.
But it's not what we're going to use for researching.
Correct.
Right now, we want to find unbiased sources, people actually just giving each other real human suggestions, because that's what we want to be doing. So yeah, Reddit, really useful, great place to start. And actually, the third suggestion was the one I just gave. You can just Google best yoga mat or best yoga block or best free yoga classes, and you will be able to find lists. You just need to be careful to really curate these. And again, if you just fill your list with these 8 best yoga mats of 2020. I mean, have you tried them all? It's not very trustworthy. It's not very helpful if you're just spamming people with all the different types of yoga mats. Again, tell people about the yoga mat that you use and why you use it, and it's going to be a much more valuable resource because of that.
Yeah. If you're thinking, oh, okay, what do you mean by that? Well, let's say, for example, you do yoga, you do it at home, but when you started doing yoga, you used the cheapest kind of mat, which you did buy on Amazon, as an example. So it's, look, when you're starting out, you don't know. Number one is how long you're going to be doing yoga for. Is this a short-term thing? What's something that ticks the box, but also as cheap as possible before you step up to a higher level yoga mat, whatever that is. That's you giving your personal opinion. So when I started, I used this. It was like £15. But now I use this one. But I've been doing yoga for like 5 years. But I would certainly recommend starting with that. That's you giving your personal opinion on the yoga mat, as an example, in case you're wondering, how do I explain that?
Instead of just giving 10.
Yeah.
You add in your notes. This is one I use. £10. It's fine. It's not going to last forever, but it's fine. And then this is the one I use now. It costs £30. So if you're just starting out, maybe it's not for you, but it's a good mat. Just that kind of thing. It's little sprinklings of your actual personal opinion and your expertise.
Absolutely. So where else can we look? So Reddit. Also, you said Google for competitors and competitor lists. What else are people ranking? Top 10 lists, etc. What else have we got?
So the final one is basically ask. You are, because you're in this niche, you're probably part of various groups, whether that is WhatsApp, whether that is Facebook groups, wherever your groups happen to be. Maybe you have specific apps and specific communities around your niche. I don't know, whatever it is. Ask people, set up a question thread where you are asking, hey, what are the best free yoga resources for people who are quarantined right now? Just go ahead and say, this is what you're looking for. If I were you, I would also say, I am putting together a list, like an ultimate resource list of all the best things, and I'm looking for suggestions. I would say just be open and honest about this, that you want to build this list and you're looking for people to throw as many suggestions at you as possible. The reason for this is, one, it's honest. That is what you're doing. So tell people about it. Why not? But it also means when you've completed the list, these are the places where you're going to go back to first. Anywhere where you've asked a community, you've asked a community of, let's say, 1,000 people in a Facebook group. You've said to them, I'm putting together an ultimate resource list. I'm looking for suggestions. Please throw any suggestions you want at me, and I'll include them, or I'll review them. And then after you've put together the list, you can go back to that group and say, hey, it's done. Thank you guys. You've been so helpful. You've really helped me to create this. Here is the list.
I included your suggestions as an example.
Absolutely. They're going to become the first people because they've been they're part of the creation. So they're going to be the first people you want to send it to.
So a nice question to ask them to initiate this, I guess, is give me your recommendations for X. It could be yoga mats, it could be applications you use at home, and why. So that way you can even include, if you haven't used it, you could even include their recommendation. My dear friend says this about this app. I asked my community and they said this about this yoga mat. So it also helps make the curation a bit more personable. And if you think psychologically, it includes their input onto this report. So when you give it back to them, they have a greater natural incentive to share this. It's like, oh, great, my recommendations are here as well. I want to share this with people because I'm also included. It's like making them a part of this whole process. So I like that one.
They're a co-creator at that point. And for specifically, we keep talking about yoga mats, but for example, let's say I need a recommendation for a mat for a very tall person. So there are specific mats made for extremely tall people because they need different mats. But let's say you're not tall. So you need to go to a group and say, I'm looking specifically for recommendations for taller people. And then you can include that and say, hey, Dave says that this is a great mat. And then at the end of the process, you send the list back to Dave and say, thank you for your recommendation.
Yeah. And he's 7'2".
Yes, thanks, Big Dave.
Big Dave says this is the best mat he's ever used because of his
and he's
extreme size.
So.
Yeah.
So that's another way to do it. So three different things. There's existing lists that you have been sent, whether it's through WhatsApp, whether it's in these kind of groups. So look for existing lists already, and we're going to pull together as many as we can and then curate them. That's one. Second is go to Reddit. Reddit is really good for this kind of group collective
Discussion.
information gathering. Yeah. And then third, go into communities that you're part of around this niche and ask. Just say, this is what I'm doing, and I'm looking for suggestions. Nice and simple. These are three ways.
Fantastic. Okay, so we discussed the format, but let's just summarize the format. This can be
We did discuss the format. I want to talk a little bit about it though, because again, this question will be coming back, which is, okay, well, I'm pulling together this list. That's fine. Sure, I can put my classes on it, but what else am I getting from this? Why am I spending all this time?
Yeah,
helping
exactly.
these other people? So initially, we're going to do it in a Google sheet because it's easy to get lots of information in there. This is going to be a working document. People are going to keep giving you suggestions.
So what we're saying is let's use the Google Sheet to collect the information and have it displayed easily for us.
Yeah, and initially you're going to want to share it as a Google Sheet, at least initially. Later, though, we can take all of that information. Let's say we're almost at the final draft. Later, we can take this information and turn it into a nice PDF, and then we can add our branding, we can add our website, we can add our social media, etc. So later, format-wise, we might go to PDF. We don't want to do that too quickly, because this should be a living document that's going to change, at least for the first month or so.
Yeah, and then I guess once it's done, once you see the changes slowing down or the frequency of the change reducing, then we can turn it into something a bit nicer, because now we're almost like, okay, people have seen this and they've added their changes, or I've tweaked it based on feedback. Now we have a great document that was going to be very useful. Let me brand it up. Let me make it look nice.
Let's take the time, or maybe even pay a designer to make this look really great. And that would be like the final draft.
That makes sense. So
but for now, Google Sheet is fine.
Yeah, because what we never recommend, and it's a trap most people fall into, is they would spend, I don't know, maybe a week creating this list, getting it designed, making it look awesome, and then distributing it to find
nobody
that
cares.
nobody cares. It's like, okay, this looks really fancy, well done, but it's not really that useful to me. Whereas doing it the other way is getting a useful list first, which is more of a raw list, then going out with a finished, polished product. Take, for example, the BBO.SHOW, for example. Number one is we've got a private Slack group. It's not that organized internally yet because we haven't got that many people in it. Why spend all that time saying, right, and trust me, I've personally done this. Carl will know I'm one of those people. I want it to be as close to perfect as possible before it launches. So the Slack group is going to grow and evolve over time based on what you guys would like in there. Really easy.
Because we don't know. We can pretend we know, but ultimately we don't.
We don't. You guys know. That's the fact. The market knows, as some people like to say. Another example is the BBO.SHOW. We don't have a website yet. We don't have a logo yet, although it's being created and it's freaking awesome. But we could have delayed the launch of this until all of the logo, the domain name, the email collection tool, everything was all set up, whatever. But we didn't. We said, let's go live because it's providing instant value, and you can speak to us directly. You can say, this was useful. I've got a question of this. Carl, we've had a few questions. I think Ravi posted a question on my Facebook page because it streams everywhere. So you'll see this all over the place. I'll attempt to get into the Slack group. But his question was around gyms. I know you guys have spoken about individuals, but how can a gym use this? That was his question. Just come to mind now.
Okay.
Maybe we address that at the end, because let's finish this process.
No, it's definitely relevant. So if the gym doing online courses?
So they, from my understanding, I think he's asking about one of the gyms they are involved with or whatever, is they have a cycle class, and I don't want to devalue it, but a cycle class, and it's a phenomenal experience because it's a lighted room. So that as you're doing the cycle, the lights, and I don't know the exact name, but they have that. So I imagine that's also been hit by COVID-19. You can't physically go to a cycle class.
You can't go to a sweaty spinning room with 20 other people.
Hot, steamy, sweaties. Yeah, you can't do it. So what does a gym do? Can they use this technique?
Absolutely. So again, the end result would be they're trying to get people into their online classes. Yes, they're not going to be able to do the nice lighting, but they can still do something interesting. I know that some people have been doing remote raves. So DJs have
Mm.
been doing raves and club nights, but for people at home, like
Yes,
silent
I've
disco
seen this.
style.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe they could look at those guys and implement that with at-home cycling machines. I don't know. I don't know about the experience part of it, but definitely what we're talking about today, creating this resource list, is something that could be used. And again, just highlighting their offerings at the top of the
Yeah,
list.
because for example, they could have bike equipment. They could have
Yep.
accessories. What's the best sweatbands? What's the best water bottle? So there's lots
So,
of nice little things
so,
in there.
so I think what it would be. So what it sounds like to me is spinning.
It's
So
spinning.
they're
Sorry, I should make that clear. Yeah, it's a spinning class.
it's a spinning class. So spinning classes are quite. Yep, they are. It it's about the experience being in the room with all the other people huffing and puffing and the
Yeah,
hyper or
and
the
it's time to
hyped up
climb a hill
energy.
now. Turn up your thing to
Yep.
level
So
9, and it's
you
like,
need somebody like, come on, we're doing it. So that is actually better doing it live, because if you could just find a YouTube video, that's fine, but then you don't have the pressure um, of the instructor telling you
mm,
actually you need to be doing this. So
yeah,
this is something that could be done with two-way cameras on Zoom. So if the instructor can see everybody, he can see the 20 people in the classes, then there is the incentive to keep pedaling. Whereas if you do this on YouTube, you might just be like, sod it, and
yeah,
turn
yeah,
off the spinning class. So I think for spinning in particular, this could work. The guide or the ultimate list that you have to create would basically be oh no, you can no longer do spinning. How do you keep up the vibe? How do you keep up your spinning routine at home?
mm,
So how do you get that hype level? How do you you maintain the euphoria and the excitement of spinning
yeah,
at home without being able to go to a spinning studio? So that might be things like headphone recommendations for like just banging
yeah.
really good wireless headphones.
Best wireless headphones. Yeah, best
Yep.
wireless headphones that have
Um,
no lag. Like I've,
yep.
yeah,
Obviously, it's going to be things like spinning machines. So these are the different price ranges, because I know you can get spinning bikes for like 200 quid from Argos. I
mm,
don't know how good they are, but then they go all the way up to 2 grand or whatever. So
yeah,
having a guide saying, look, these are your different options
yeah.
depending on your price point.
Or they could even have an alternative to spinning, which doesn't require equipment, but they create the same vibe. I.e., they have the same music style. They have,
Sure. So it'll probably
um,
be a hit class, a bodyweight hit class. So it doesn't require any physical equipment,
mm,
but you would try to get that kind of vibe.
yeah,
So I would look at doing that. I
mm,
think an ultimate guide to spinning when the spinning studio is closed would be a really cool document to create,
yeah, yeah.
because there are people who, with spinning in particular, become it's almost like a religious experience. You
That
go
is their
there.
class. Yeah, they
Yeah.
sign up
So
to the gym
how do
to
you
attend the class.
replicate that? And creating the ultimate guide for that, I think that could be a really cool idea.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
depends on their business model, obviously, but that would be where I'd start.
Okay, so that's a great question. I'll point them to that. So, okay, going back to formats. So we said
Mhm.
initially we got a sheet, and then think about a fancy PDF once it's done. Once you've compiled that list and you see the frequency of changes reduced, that's the right
Content,
time.
content first, uh,
Yeah.
then presentation, but
Uh,
get the content nailed first.
yeah. So how is what's the best way? I guess what we also want them to do is not make the mistake that we did and ensure that they are branded on that. Ensure that they, I guess, their websites, their social. What's some tips there? What do you recommend without OTTing it, without it being
Sure,
a hey, this is a sales brochure, not an ultimate resource guide.
sure. Well, first thing, if you are adding your voice, there is that authorial voice with your comments and your suggestions,
Mm,
that is already personalizing it, so that you're already putting yourself in the position of an expert. We just need to make sure people know who you are. So it could be as simple as making sure the header in the Google Doc has your website. You could change the title of the list, so it is the name of your company or your name's ultimate guide to yoga at home.
mm,
So very simple like that. We make sure that when you are listing out the top online yoga classes or the top spinning classes, we make sure that yours is one of those, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's and you don't hide that. You say, oh, and of course here's mine.
Yeah.
So you're very open about that. I think that's kind of it for now. Make sure so this is a slightly technical one, but when you do export it, and we're going to be talking about this in distribution, when it is exported, make sure that your company name or your name is in the file name, because that's what people are sending to each other on WhatsApp. And we're going to get to this shortly, but that's a good way to make sure your name is going to appear every time it's shared.
I like that tip. And don't be shy to include your social media, because although they may not transact with you now, they will follow you and see that you as a person, you're the person behind the list, which is always nice. Have your URLs, so have your links embedded. So one way you could do it is, if it's a live document, and this works on the phone as well, is in the title, say Harms and Kyle's ultimate guide to working at home. Harms and Kyle could be a URL which takes them to the BBO show, as an example. So have some strategic links placed in there as well, which are obvious, is not to hide it. I mean, you create this list, so don't be shy to link it up as much as possible.
Yeah. The main thing is it's not 100% just your products.
That's the key.
Yeah, because you're going to be given so many suggestions. It's fine that you sprinkle in yours, and it's fine that you even highlight yours above other people's. Because if you've got 100 different suggestions and 2 of them are yours in private place, that's fine. People know the value of the rest of the document. It's just, if you give people a one-pager which just has your prices and your times on it, that's valuable for you as a business owner. It's not valuable for them.
Yeah, that's just a
brochure.
Yeah,
it's not an ultimate guide.
It's not an ultimate guide. That's the ultimate guide to you. Like that's that's not this good. You can
think about what's useful for them, and then add in your branding, add in your voice, add in your service offerings. Just don't take the piss, basically. So that's all you need for now, because we're going to be, now we're talking about how we're going to distribute it. We're going to be getting it into so many hands that the fact that you are one of 100 different suggestions on there won't really matter, because we're going to be getting it to thousands of people.
Okay, final part then. How do we distribute this list? Let's assume that we've researched it, we've curated it into this working document, not a final beautiful piece of artwork, but a working document. And then now, how do we get it out to people's hands? What channels? I guess the first thing we need to focus on is, what channels do we need to get it out for? Because I mentioned blog posts, but there's some more direct channels that we can use.
Sure. So right now, what is working really well is WhatsApp, because people are, everybody's stuck in the same situation. We're all stuck at home. Nobody has any way to socialize. So WhatsApp groups in particular are becoming quite important. People are just chatting on WhatsApp.
Me and my friends are having a laugh on WhatsApp.
I mean, I saw the WhatsApp release some statistics about their increase in use, and it's through the roof, because people are using WhatsApp groups.
Let me see if I can find that whilst you're chatting.
Whether it's their family, whether it's their peer group, their friends, whatever it is, it's just become it's how we socialize right now, specifically. I mean, people were using WhatsApp a lot before, but now it's become even more important. So this is where the current resource lists, the ultimate resource lists, are being shared. So ultimately, that's where we want ours to gain some traction and to start being shared around by people within our niche, or people who are interested in our niche. Now, it's not enough just for us.
40%. I know I'm just jumping in there. 40% increase in WhatsApp. That's a lot. That's a serious amount of business. That is globally, because it's TechCrunch as the source there. So I imagine that's globally.
Be global or US, but probably global.
Yeah. Crazy.
So we obviously want to share it into these groups of people who will find it useful. If you are in a big yoga group or a yoga instructor group, or maybe you have a group with your current students, make sure you share it there. This is a very obvious place to share it. That's the first place we want. But we need to go a bit wider than that. We want to get other people sharing it. So it's not just us sharing it to our groups. We need other people to find it useful and to share it into their groups. And that's where it's going to really start to grow. I don't want to use the term going viral. Well, one, because coronavirus. I don't think we can use going viral anymore.
Going viral will now become a PC term, I think.
We're not allowed to say going viral.
What would be the new thing for that?
But that's not why I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it because it's there's this joke for digital marketers when you meet a client, they're like, you ask them what are your objectives. Oh, we want to go viral with this content. It's like, oh,
I know. I get it. I get it often.
So things go viral when when they're valuable and people want to share them. So we are trying to manufacture that virality, but we cannot rely on it.
Yeah, because there's companies out there which have people working to create viral content. There's groups of
BuzzFeed.
individuals. BuzzFeed is one example, but there's also groups of individuals who create video content with the sole purpose for this video to go viral, and that is their day job. So for you to think,
plus they're throwing a lot of money behind it as well. The idea of organic virality doesn't work anymore.
No, it's an anomaly. It's an anomaly if anything. But so don't allow that to be your focus or your goal. This is going to go viral, but just that's the intention that we would like to happen.
We can't rely on it though.
But we can't rely on it exactly.
So we are going to spread it to WhatsApp, to our current groups. Absolutely fine. If it takes off and people start sending it to other people, fantastic. That's virality. You've got what you needed. We can't rely on that, so we're going to look at a few other different routes. First up is going to be your current clients and your current customers. So this is a really useful thing you can immediately provide them. They come to you for spinning. They come to you for yoga. They are now stuck at home as everyone else is. So these are immediately people you should be sharing this value with, sharing these resources with. It's a good way for you to keep in touch with them and a good way for you to maintain that relationship.
Have you seen the film?
To share it, yeah.
Have you seen that film called Jexy?
No.
Okay, it's an awesome film. I think it's on Netflix. But basically, his job is he works in the
Adam.
Yes, yeah. So his job is he works in, and his boss is basically saying to him that video or that piece of content is not going to go viral enough, and it's just they come up with the craziest things. It's quite an absurd movie, and basically the phone takes over his life. It's a really cool one.
It's Adam Devine, isn't it? Yeah,
Adam Devine. Yeah, it's funny. So Jexy is a really good movie to show you how silly this concept of virality is.
Yeah. So let's focus on value and giving value and getting as much value out into the world instead of virality. Virality is a very 2000s internet marketing term, like going viral. You expect executives sitting in beanbag chairs and stuff like that. It's nonsense. We want something to be valuable enough that people will share it with each other. And that's all we're aiming for. So that's nice and simple. So current customers, they're going to find it useful. So send it to your current clients. If they start to share it with people on WhatsApp, great.
And do ask them. I would say ask them. Say, just share this with anybody you think who will find this useful.
And specifically send it to them via WhatsApp. If you email it to them, you're adding an additional step there where they need to get it out of their email into WhatsApp and then forward it to people.
Yeah, we call it friction. We want to reduce the friction for them to act or do something.
We want it to be one button away to share it with their other friends who are into yoga. Nice and simple. So that's why we want to try and use WhatsApp as much as possible to get the initial file to people or the initial link to people, and then beyond that, they'll be able to share it more easily. So one other additional useful suggestion is this depends on whether you're going local or regional, but if you are focusing locally, there are physical notice boards. Sainsbury's and Tesco's, etc. have them. Obviously, they're less useful nowadays because of the lockdown, but there are also apps and local social media, social networks like Nextdoor.
Yeah.
Do you know Nextdoor?
Yeah, it's not that well known, but it is great. I mean, it's very heavily used.
The people who use it are really into it. So Nextdoor is, I believe it's invite only.
Yes, you have to request it, but you have to be invited by a neighbor who knows you. So only people in your local world will be on this app. It's amazing. Good
So if
concept.
you are doing local marketing, it's great. So you can download the Nextdoor app. I think you can request somebody to send you a postcard, and
That's it.
each member of Nextdoor can send, it's either 10 or 20 postcards to their other neighbors. You might have already got one, and that will have a little code on it, and that's how they spread. And it means that only people within your postcode and the surrounding postcodes have access to your particular part of Nextdoor. So it's hyper local. Right now during Corona, I mean, I'm part of my local group, and it is just kicking off. It's everybody helping each other, and everybody setting up Corona support groups within Nextdoor. A lot of them then go to WhatsApp, but it's Nextdoor where they first congregate. So if you were to go there and say, hey, I've put together a list of resources to help you keep fit during these times, please share it with anyone you know who needs a bit of support with physical and mental health. Nextdoor is going to be a really good place to start spreading that out to people.
Fantastic. So that's
again, because you're coming from a place of value giving, not because you are trying to sell. If you just went on Nextdoor and say, hey, I'm doing yoga lessons at £20 an hour online, you'll just get shot down.
Yeah,
so we're not coming from there.
Agree. And the good thing about WhatsApp and apps like Nextdoor is that the hardest thing for a marketer to do is to gain trust with your audience. Here, the trust is pretty much built up. You're already in the WhatsApp group with somebody. That's besides from them being in your family, there's a pretty close connection and for trust. Nextdoor is very similar because of this whole postcard recommendation process. There's a layer of security for you to be in the local group as such. So there's already a bit of trust there. Like this person
doesn't get spammed, which is important.
Yeah.
But you need to maintain that trust. So do not go in there and just try and sell people your classes.
Please,
instead say, here is a resource list. It has 100 different ways you can stay healthy at home.
Yeah.
Really useful.
And ask them and remind. Do ask them the question. This is the part that most people do miss, which is what you would like them to do with this list. Hopefully, it's a useful resource for yourself, but also please share it with anybody outside of our community which you think may benefit or may be in a similar situation. That's the ask. Otherwise, sometimes people receive the list and they're like, "Oh, that's amazing! Oh, that's an amazing list. I'm going to enjoy that for myself." That extra bit of direction will mean, yeah, I know 2 or 3 people who may really find this list useful. I'm going to share it with them. Sometimes we need that prompt.
Yeah. And again, that's something you cannot do if you're just selling to people. If you say, hey, buy my stuff and share this with 3 of your friends, people are like, no. But if it's something that's genuinely valuable, yeah, you might get that. That ask is going to be well received. So local community using Nextdoor, great.
Yeah.
Maybe print out some little flyers, stick them in Sainsbury's and Tesco's. Right now, less people are going out, so that's going to be less useful. But there are community boards, depending on where you live, which might be useful there.
What else can we do? What other places?
Competitors. Now, this is a really interesting one.
That's an interesting one.
This is a really interesting one. So you
mean I have to talk to my competitor about this?
Yeah, we're not going to think of them as competitors now. We're going to think of them as other people who are operating in the industry, other people who are probably struggling because they're trying to do something similar to what you're doing. They're no longer able to run classes. You're just going to contact them and say, hey, look, I do yoga classes, I do spinning classes in the area. Times are kind of rough. I'm putting together this ultimate list of resources to help people in the area. I've put my classes in here. Do you want to add your classes? Do you want to give me the details of your classes, what you're doing, and I'm going to add them to my list?
Yeah, that's the key. I think ask them to say, what would you like me to include in this list? And give them a template. So that initial template from the name, the website, what customers say about that competitor as an example, testimonial, ask them for that information specifically and say, I would love to put you in this list because during this time, we've got to stick together and it'd be great to feature you on this list.
Yep. So you're going to them not as a competitor, but you're going to them as a publisher. You're an information publisher at this point. So you're saying, I want to include you on my list and we're going to get this out to lots of people so that they can continue to stay fit at home. And I want you to be on this list too. So you're coming at it from a very different angle, which
and you've initiated
them as competitors. They're not competitors. They
never are.
Colleagues.
They're colleagues. They share the market space with you. It's great that they're there because that's a whole different discussion. But ask them for some specific things, and say you'll handle the whole process, and you'll get it distributed. And then I guess the next step from there is once it is created, you send it back to them and say, look, you're on this list. Share with your customer base, share with your community, share with your whoever.
Well, so share on WhatsApp, share your current customers, go on Nextdoor and show people it. Send it to your colleague. Sorry, send it to your competitors. See if they want to get in on it. That's how you spread. You get other people invested in getting it out to the wider world.
Yeah, and give them that list. Give them that direction from a place of just helping them out in terms of, let's assume that nobody knows about WhatsApp, Nextdoor, another competitor, and say, these are 3 or 4 different places you can share this just to help you or your team. I always like to say you, your team, because a business owner sometimes is busy, but they may give this to their PA, their VA, their team, and say, get this out to as many people as possible. Here's a list of 4 places. Allow them as little thinking needed as possible, because look, at the end of the day, we're all going to be thinking about lots of other things right now. Never mind sharing a list. So make it very, very easy for them. So they just have to click a button.
Yep. And then I had a couple more options. These are smaller ones. We've covered the main ones. But if there are any big blogs in your niche, or podcasts that have blogs, or it could be YouTubers, so any big influencers within your niche, share the list with them. Make sure they're on the list first. So even if they aren't a competitor in your area, it could be someone large. It could be someone like Yoga with Adrian, if you do yoga. Share the list with them, either via Twitter or email, or however they normally talk with their fans, and say, I've put you on this list. I think this ultimate resource list would be really useful for people around the world or in the country who are trying to find free resources, but they don't really know where to turn. If you can get somebody big, a big influencer to share your list, then you're good.
Then your list is going viral, which we don't want. We don't want that to be the focus, but it would be great. But that's one way to do it. You find somebody who's got a very large, powerful, influential position with their audience, and then go like that. That's probably a good technique.
So I've separated them from competitors, because you probably don't think of them as competitors because they're so much bigger. So we can go to them and say, this is a list, you're on it. I think it'd be really useful for everybody in the community. So if you could help share it, that'd be great.
That sounds good. What about, okay, so these are lots of free methods. Say somebody wanted to put a bit of money behind this, what would they do?
Sure. So you could use paid Facebook and Instagram posting. I'd probably focus on Instagram.
I would say Facebook, because Instagram, you'd have to lead them to a website, or I suppose not, because you've got your working document. They would both work. Facebook and Instagram would work.
Yeah, we want something that can get people in. We can get people to a document correct, which they can then share on WhatsApp as quickly as possible. Yeah, so Facebook or Instagram would work.
There's a few more steps involved, but
the way I do it is I would get on video like this, and I would say, hey, I've put together a list of the top resources in yoga. If you're stuck at home right now and you want to keep healthy and you want to keep your mind sane, yoga is a really good way to do it. This is a free list. You don't need an email or anything to access it. This is just given to the community. If you follow the link down below, you'll be able to access the Google document, and I hope it's useful for you. Just something like that, just fast, quick, making sure people don't think there's a sale, because they're going to assume there is.
Let them know it's free. And you can use that script Carl gave you, but you cannot record what he just said. Use his face as your video. That's not allowed, just in case you thought that was okay. I just want to, because that was a solid script. That's it. Just copy and paste that, but put it into your own words.
Simple like that. It's you talking to them. The more you plan it, the more it's going to seem like a sales script. So it really does need to be off the cuff, like that. So send them to a link. If they see it's a Google sheet, then they'll know it's not a sales page. Well, actually, no, you need to be a bit tech savvy for that, so not necessarily. So that could work, and you'd be able to reach thousands of people for £5-10 a day or something like that.
I'm sure we'll talk about that kind of advertising technique in the future with other shows.
Yeah, that's further down. I think for now, if you focus on creating something that's genuinely valuable to the community, we shouldn't have to focus on paid too much.
Okay, absolutely. So that's it. Right, we've covered what we're making, the
Yep.
ultimate resource list. Number
Mhm.
two is how to make it. We've discussed that and how to distribute it. So, Carl, do you want to do it, or shall I do the just the to dos? So, if you've got a pen and paper, you're listening to this, pause it just for a second, and I don't know if it's a live feed, if you can pause that, but pause it for a second, grab a piece of paper because there's some to dos. Do you want to cover it, or happy for me to?
You cover it because I will get derailed.
Well,
You're good
yeah,
at
I think
you're good at summarizing.
I've been the derailer today. Actually, I think I spoke about Jexy, the movie. Okay, so
That's
number
true.
one
Number
is
one, watch Jexy.
number one. Watch Jexy because it's hilarious. That is a hilarious movie, and the actor's amazing. Right, so then you go to step two. Okay, but actually step one is decide the scope of your list. What is your focus going to be? E.g., and we've spoken about yoga here, but ultimate list of free yoga resources, ultimate list of an ultimate list created by a personal trainer just for you in the UK. What something like that, which is specific and will be opened by somebody who's got an interest in that area. Don't just do it as the ultimate list for in the UK, ultimate resource list. The ultimate resource list for what? So we did one from working from home because we've been doing it for so many years now. Number two is pull together everything you can into a Google Doc. That's the key, or Google Sheet, up to
Google
you.
Sheet, sorry.
Yeah, Google Sheet or Google Doc. Google Sheet is better because you can just tabulate it. It's very easy and visual
Google
for
Sheet
people.
is Excel, basically.
Excel, yeah.
Yeah.
Just very easy to share that link and for people to access it very quickly and easily. Curate the list. So go through the research process that we've discussed today. Remove the things that you think this is not relevant. Things that you use yourself, even bonus, because then you can put a personal opinion on that as well. Then publish to the people you asked. Get it into all of those places, the WhatsApps, the other
Facebook
groups,
groups.
Facebook groups, all these places that we've discussed. Get it spread, get it out there, and ask them, please share this with other people. If it's useful and it's valuable and it's come from a good place, it will be shared anyway, definitely. And then keep pushing it, keep getting it out there, keep getting it out there. And then later, the next step in the future could be we're going to come and brand it up, turn it into a PDF, send it to a designer on Fiverr.com or whatever like that. But right now, a Google Sheet is 100% okay. That's it. Fantastic. So, just to summarize the summary, yesterday we spoke about business. Okay, what can a business do in shifting their model, going online? What's a way they can do that? An ultimate resource list is a technique that we wanted to share with you. Now, how we attract an audience's attention, which is a second part of battle on audience, and you're going to start to see a pattern as we do this in the weeks. This is how we do it. So we've given you the 3-step process on how to attract the audience's attention. And this is pretty. This falls into the category of guerrilla marketing because we're having to put a lot of effort into this, but the results should hopefully speak for themselves. And certainly, you would leave a good place. People will think of you in a positive way once this is all done and dusted. I think that's a nice. If that's one result, if you used to say, right, what's one goal with this? To provide value with people for people, and for people to, or for yourself to think, I did a good thing during this time. That's another way to assign a goal to this if it's
I
not a
think
monetary one.
any form of creation, any form of value giving right now is needed,
Yeah.
because the natural response of everybody is just to shut down.
Either shut down or sell extremely hard. And there's no judgment on either of those, but let's do something in between and create something, provide value, help people out. It's a strange time, so I think, yeah, why not? If you're on board with this, then get cracking with it. So, questions for us. If you want to interact with us, if you want to enhance this, you've got a question. I'm thinking about this as the resource list. Is that a good idea? Slack. We're not going to be interacting in YouTube comments, Facebook comments, Instagram comments, Twitch comments, LinkedIn. It's not going to happen. It's not practical for us. So,
No time.
just not, yeah. And then for you, you'll be going, oh, that app, this app. So come join us in Slack. The link will be below in the description. And then, yeah, come say hi. There's a few other people in there as well, and ask us whatever questions you got right now around COVID-19 digital marketing, your business and digital marketing, specifically what we've been speaking about yesterday and today. So, anything else to add, Kyle?
No, that's all for today. Apart from we will see you tomorrow at the same time.
Tomorrow, 12 o'clock. We stream live on YouTube at 12 o'clock and everywhere else thereafter on the same day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. See you tomorrow, guys.
Cool. Thanks.